10 quote requests for new systems. And guess what? You didn't book any of those. You can either adapt and change, or you can continue holding up those $100 bills and just lighting them on fire, because that's exactly what you're doing.
Welcome to Cracking the Code. Zach, good to see you again. You know, last week we were just in Las Vegas at Epic 2026. Tell me what you thought of the conference and how did Lokal do out there in the vendor marketplace?
Yeah, the conference was great. The space was great. The Bellagio was gorgeous. It's a really great show, and it was a great success for us.
Contractors aren't going to buy solutions to problems that they don't perceive that they have, just like anybody, right? You wouldn't do it either. You wouldn't buy something if you didn't need it, right? So if you were having a conversation and you just had a whole bunch of conversations with contractors, I mean, what are some of the problems that the Lokal team is trying to help contractors solve?
One of the really valuable things that we bring to the table is bringing people into this this software that we've been developing over the last couple of years, which is kind of an accident. The original intent of the software was to be a check and balance for owners, contractors to say, hey, we're spending this much money in market, and you know, most people will say, oh, my advertising isn't working. Well, we developed this to say why is your advertising not working? And we were qualifying every single call, et cetera, and saying, well, it's not working for the same reasons I just talked about. But we've developed with all of the evolutions now of AI, we've developed this, we call it a lead engine, and the lead engine actually uses AI to listen to every single call, determine what's actually happening in that call from an intent, disposition, summary of that call, recommendations on, you're getting a lot of quote requests, et cetera. And so now we're using that tool with our contractors in not only to report on performance of what's happening in market, but also to help educate them and make them aware of these issues that are actually happening that are keeping them held back or holding them back in terms of, okay, well, I need more leads. Okay, well, if you need more leads and you need to advertise, right? Then you also need to empower your CSRs with information so that the answer to every single call isn't, I'm sorry, we don't do that. We need to send out a technician for $79. That is no longer an acceptable answer for the majority of people in market that are looking for service.
Well, and that's, that really is kind of the key. And I think, what I hear you saying is that, there are a variety of ways to get the phone to ring. And, the idea of like referrals, to me, referrals, testimonials, 5-star reviews, all those kind of things, those are all social proof that you know what you're doing. Right. And to the extent that you can get that social proof out there and then be responsive to the questions that are being asked. Because, I mean, this is no different than it was in the 80s when I was running, the 90s, early 90s when I was running my dad's business here in Georgia. Customers would call all the time, say, what's going to cost to replace my fill in the blank? What's it going to cost for a pound of refrigerant? They didn't say refrigerant, they said Freon back in the day. What's a pound of Freon cost? What's your labor rate? All these kind of numbers. Customers they want to be informed, and that's not anything new. That's been the case forever, and it'll continue to be the case forever. And, even with, some of the stuff that Google's doing now, where Google's got bots that are calling around asking for pricing numbers and things like that. It's like, dude, you've got to be able to answer those questions, and you've got to be responsive to the concerns of the homeowner, without a doubt. You've got to be able to serve from the beginning, right? From the very beginning, you've got to serve them in ways they want to be served.
And this goes back to our role, in my opinion, as the partner and marketing company is we now have the information and the tools available to help you, David, owner of said company, to empower you with the knowledge. And we, again, I can't do it for you, but I can give you 8 million examples of how to do it and ideas on what to do. And you can either choose to implement them or you can't. Like on this quote thing, one big insight that the tool will reveal is how many calls are you getting that are asking for price. There's specific quote requests, and we can use that to expose. My easiest example is on the plumbing side, which is very, very common. But on the plumbing side is people say, well, my toilet's not working. How much for repair? Most plumbing companies have a flat rate toilet repair cost. So instead of telling somebody, it's the same thing as the capacitor. Instead of telling someone $79, just say our toilet repair costs $295 flat rate. Period. End of conversation. Done. If there's another problem, the tech will walk through you, whatever that problem is, and explain it to you and give you an estimate, whatever. Would you like to send someone out? That's it. It's that simple. And they just want to know how much it's going to cost to get their toilet working. And so the insights in the tool can aggregate all these calls over a month or over a week, depending on your call volume, and say, here's all the quote request calls you're getting. And we can go through them and say, okay, you got 10 quote requests for new systems. And guess what? You didn't book any of those. So that there is a problem. You can either adapt and change, or you can continue holding up those $100 bills and just lighting them on fire, because that's exactly what you're doing. If you're having buy-in problems from the CSRs or objections or whatever from your CSRs, share the data with them. Share with them, here's how much it is costing us $150 to get a qualified customer to call you, Sally. When you are laissez-faire about that call and not providing them white glove service, right? Doing everything you can to book that call. Not only might you not be meeting your requirement, right? But you're also hurting the business and hurting everybody else, because this is very expensive to make the phone ring. And what I've seen is when people start to do that and they share with their team how expensive everything is, then everybody takes things a little bit more serious. And then, so that example is $150, right? Let's say your booking rate for paid calls about 50%, okay? Because this is easy math. So that means if I'm booking 50% of those calls, and those calls are costing me $150 just to get the person to call David's HVAC, right? Well, now it's costing me $300 in marketing costs, $300 to get the technician to the home. Now you're out of pocket $300 as the owner, just getting the technician to show up for that appointment, right? And everybody needs to know that, because then the techs are going to walk into the home and take their checklist a heck of a lot more seriously, because that 20-point inspection checklist could unveil an old blower motor that might be on its way out, right? Or a capacitor that's low, et cetera, which instead of then being the $99 trip fee to flip on the kill switch that got shut off by some kid or whatever, and now it turned into a $1,800 ticket because there's something that's going to on its way out that you can recommend that should be changed, and it turned in from a net loss job to a profitable job.
Yeah, relationships are the difference, right? So if you're just getting a price caller, a price shopper, if you're just getting someone who is doing their research, you don't have a relationship with them yet. So if you used the word stonewall earlier, and I love that, because if you're stonewalling them and not being a servant, you're not serving them the way they want to be served, your initial relationship with them is very strained, and most likely you will not have them as a customer. But if you seek to serve them, if you look through their eyes and understand that most homeowners look at contractors through the lens of the first three letters of the word contractor, con, right? They look at you as somebody who's going to try to give them a lowball price and then come in and do the work and say, "Oh, I didn't see this. It's going to be another $1,000 or whatever." They're concerned about all those stories that they've heard. They're looking for social proof to say that you are who you say you are. You are a quality and integrity based business that really does care for the safety, health, comfort, and efficiency of my home. You want to make sure that you're delivering on the promises of the manufacturer's brand, whatever the equipment is going to do, that if it's going to be high efficiency, that when you install it, it's going to operate in a highly efficient manner. They're looking for that social proof that says you actually do what you say you're going to do. So Magnus is all about measure, don't guess. We're measuring to prove to you that we're doing what we said we're going to do. Now it's up to you to do what you need to do to convert those incoming leads.
It's because someone asked me this at EGIA actually, um, and they said, "Well, do you come in and do the training?" And the answer is no, right? The answer is no. We're not. We're not. We're not. We're not here to be consultants only. We're here to deploy the marketing, make the marketing work, but also provide insights and value and information as to why it might not be working, right? And there are so many. I mean, I gave two of them, right? There are so many reasons why it could not be working, and the whole tenet that we stand behind is data is power, and people tend to be afraid of data because sometimes it tells you things you don't want to know.
Yeah, like when I
Right?
step on the scale in the bathroom, right? Yeah. You know what mine says? It says you're too short for your weight. That's what it says.
This is a great example because the solution, there's two solutions. One of them is don't step on the scale, which is if you don't step on the scale, you don't have the data. You aren't gaining a pound every single month, right? At the end of the year, you're not magically 10 pounds heavier because you never stepped on the scale. But if you empower yourself with the information, you can start changing your habits. You can start walking. You can start going to the gym. You can start calorie counting, whatever. It's the same thing. If you don't know your booking rate is 18%, whether it's paid or unpaid or whatever, you are so screwed. You are so screwed because you have massive, massive, massive operational problems. And some people, and this is, I mean, one great thing and terrible thing Service Titan does is provides people with booking rates. Great thing it does, provides them. Bad thing it does is it allows you to manipulate them. House Call Pro, you more or less can't do it, right? It doesn't have the power to do that. So this example is especially true when we get House Call Pro people in because they have no idea. They just assume that things are all rosy and everything's great. You have no idea that all of a sudden you can start seeing summaries of your call. You can quantify dispositions. You can see your booking rates. You can see all this information that you couldn't necessarily before. Service Titan is a little different. It's again good. It's better and worse in some cases, because Service Titan's where you get all this sort of like these maniacal sort of egotistical people that are like, my booking rate's 98%. I'm like, no, it's not. No, it's not. Like, no, if you are maybe evaluating one little segment that's only referrals from you know, the neighbor Sally, maybe it's 98%, but as a whole, it is, I assure you, it is not 98%.
So let's do this, Zach. Let's say that I'm David at Holt Service Company, and I'm intrigued, and I'm ready to engage with you guys. What's the process? What do I need to do, and how do you take me through that process to get me started?
So we do a discovery and strategy call, and we take them top down. Big intake, a lot of questions in terms of really in terms of goals, budgets, existing budgets, utilization, size, how many trucks they've got on the road, and if we can get some information on what they were spending, how they were utilizing that money. Most of the time we don't have that information, so we can guess. But then we move forward and kind of do this utilization analysis and say, okay, well, where, from an advertising standpoint, like, where does this come in? Do you need this? And in some cases, we can quickly diagnose through either House Call Pro or Service Titan that says, you don't need advertising. So then we can look at other packages, other tactics, which are, increasing organic visibility. We have something called, the common name is rehashing, re-engagement, reactivation, right? Going within your database to build loyalty and nurture people. Additionally, depending on where you are in your journey, we're also doing a lot of YouTube advertising right now, which is extraordinarily powerful for brand building and lead generation. It's my sort of sleeper tactic that we have right now that nobody else is doing. So there's and then there's this other piece where you might need it, right? Like, we just onboarded someone last week that they're the first goal out of the gate is to get utilization up to like 70-80%, because based on our intake, they are way overstaffed. Their utilization is like 30%. One thing that's really, really important that we do differently than a lot of agencies is, I actually don't really want to, depending on where you're at, I don't want to spend money on advertising if we don't have to. And I sort of alluded to that earlier, but like, if your utilization and capacity is 20-30%, David, you have no choice than to go to market and start finding more leads to fill the board, or else you are going to be fighting to put dinner on the table for you and your team. So you've got to make some hard choices. You've either got to get rid of some people and make sure, the rest of everybody get fed, or we're going to have to go to market and start spending money to bring those people in. And then the really hard question becomes, again, when you're spending a $150 call, are you operationally ready to do this, right? Like, can you handle these calls? Are your CSRs well-trained enough to do this? Because we know they're really hard calls, and the reality is most people aren't. They're not ready for that, which then puts us and them in a tough situation, because you're gonna get mad at me when you're spending all this money and it's not working, but really, the problem ultimately will end up being because you're not operationally sound enough to be in market spending this money because your team is not trained well enough, right?
And just so you know, we do have a lot of that online training actually. So we have all kind of CSR training on the Contractor University platform. So you can definitely point to that to help people get started. And of course, we have other partners that actually do have some very, very valuable training for CSRs and so forth. So Zach, how do people get in touch with a local if they're ready to start investigating this thing?
Sure. Website, localhq.com. Facebook is great. Local Zach at Local Zach is a great way. And of course you can, go to the website, call us if you'd like, or just fill out the contact us, request marketing assessment, whatever you're looking for. And we'd love to talk to you and see if we can help you.
Okay, so it's local, LOKAL HQ.com. Is that correct? There you go. Localhq.com. So go to the website, got all the contact forms and so forth. Zach will be in touch, or his team will be in touch, depending on what your needs are. And guarantee you, they will look at it through a microscope and help you get where you need to be from a marketing standpoint. Zach, let's close this thing out. What would you challenge contractors to do going forward?
Big challenge. I posted about this on Facebook. I think that 2026 is the year of operational efficiency. That's what's going to make you better as an owner or a contractor, is start looking within your organization and filling leaks, gaps, stop the sieve, right? I mean, that's what it is. Most people are looking for more leads, and more leads in most cases are not the problem. It's answering the phone well. I heard this actually last week at we were out right before EGIA at Any Hour tour, and they were. I was actually on the tour with their head recruiter, and they said, someone asked a question about recruiting, and they said, the number one thing we're looking for in all areas of the business is, can you, wherever we're looking to hire you, provide white glove service end to end wherever you stand, whether you're, responding to text messages, whether you're in the rehash department, whether you're a technician, whether you're an installer, whether you're an excavator, whether you're a CSR, whether you're a general manager, white glove service end to end. And I genuinely believe that if people do one thing only, it's leaning into that throughout their organization and emphasizing to their team that they need to put the customer first and provide that white glove service at all points in time throughout the process. And that, at the end of the day, is going to bring you more loyalty and more retention than any other marketing tactic that anyone in this world can provide you. And that's the name of the game. And this is how you can make advertising work, which is something people don't understand. How are people making it work for $300 a book job? How are you making the economics work? It's not that you're charging more money. It's that once you acquire that customer for $300, you are providing them the exceptional and extraordinary service end to end to ensure that the next time that they make the phone call, they are calling you directly. And it sounds stupid, but it is that simple. It is that simple.
Zach, man, I appreciate the heck out of you being here with us today and sharing all these awesome insights. We hope that folks that are listening to this will go ahead and hit the unpackedhq.com website. Get more information about the program and get engaged. And like Zach's been saying, man, it's up to us as contractors to get it done. They can help us. They can guide us. Local can help us. They can guide us from a marketing standpoint, but it's up to us to execute. When we get that lead, it's up to us to execute cleanly, effectively, and efficiently so that we can keep our crews busy year round, not just when it's super hot outside or super cold outside. Keep them busy year round. Keep that labor utilization at 100%, not 110, not 120, not 70. I want to feed my people 12 months out of the year. I know you do too. So Zach, we appreciate the effort. Thanks so much for being on Cracking the Code and look forward to talking to you again soon.
Thank you, David.